Venus Fridays. So let's talk about how we can tune into and empower our divine feminine inside and outside with Venus, or divine feminine planet, and the moon that really governs like all of our feminine cycles, right? Two amazing ways to tune in to this divine feminine and empower ourselves. So let's talk about today, Friday. Chiron is going retrograde, and the moon is trine Venus. And the fact that the moon is really close to Chiron while this is happening, so this is kind of all like one package deal together, right? There's a connection and an activation between Chiron going retrograde, the moon, trine Venus, right? Okay, so let's start in with Chiron. So Chiron and the moon are in Aries. Chiron represents that wounded healer, right? Our wounds, like our really deepest core wounds that block our authentic expression, right? They are the wounds that like we keep hidden in the shadow. They're the ones we need to go into the shadow to excavate and do that shadow work so that that energy can be freed, and then it helps us shine our greatest light, right? Like the shadow contains both aspects, like the things that we feel ashamed of, that we keep hidden, that we want to be in denial of, but also our greatest gifts are there as well, right? So that's how we get to our greatest gifts, is by doing that shadow work. So Chiron is the planet that really encourages us to do that shadow work, to uncover and look at and take a step in healing those core wounds so that we stop blocking our light. So now it's going retrograde, which just means it just starts to move back across the same area of the sky that it just came across from our view, right? None of the planets actually stop moving and go in reverse. It's just the way that the angles between us and the planets happen. That's same with Mercury retrograde. It just starts to make it look like they're going backwards in the sky. So what it is sort of a time of stillness, because it takes time as it stations retrograde and then starts to make that movement, kind of going back over where we've been. So when a planet goes retrograde, and generally speaking, it gives us an opportunity to look at, it's like to take that time of stillness and look into what that planet is always trying to teach us and show us or guide us through. And so in this case, it's Chiron, right? So around our wounds, and it's in Aries. So specifically around like wounds of our individuality and stepping into our own strength and power, right? That's what Aries governs. So the moon is close to Chiron as it starts to go retrograde. They'll come into exact conjunction as the moon passes Chiron. But the moon is trine Venus in Leo right now, right? So Venus, we've just moved into the evening star portion of the Venus cycle, and Venus is in Leo, which is where we started this entire Venus cycle, was in Leo. So the themes of this whole Venus cycle, which we're just now starting the second half of this evening star time, when you can see Venus in the evening sky after the sun has set, is characterized by Leo themes, which are about self-love and trusting in our own divine nature, knowing that we are spirit incarnate in the body, and the self-love that comes from making that connection between ourselves and spirit and feeling that within ourselves, right? So a lot of Leo themes, and this whole Leo Venus cycle is a huge opportunity to step into where can we love ourselves more, that helps us stand in our full divine nature, our full creative nature, right? So Chiron going retrograde in Aries, right? Aries, fire, Leo, fire, they have that element in common. And so this retrograde of Chiron and the moon with Venus is a great opportunity of like, where can we be healing the wounds that prevent loving ourselves, right? Where do we feel like we still don't deserve that? Where do we feel scared of that? Leo can be an energy that is challenging for us to step into, because it's like, oh, who do we think we are to love ourselves, or that we know we're the divine, and and embrace our creative expressions, whatever they look like, create our lives, right? So how can you look at what blocks your divine power, right? I feel like that's what this whole alignment is really offering to us. And then tomorrow, Saturday, the moon will move into Taurus, right? So the moon, the planet that governs like our feminine cycles, our menstrual cycles, the pulls on the waters of the earth, the waters of our body, the emotional sides of our body. That energy moves into Taurus, which is a very grounded earth-based sign, right? So grounding will be helpful, right? So how can we ground into our body, trust our body, be in our body? Is also the waning half moon. So the moon and the sun are in a square. So the moon is in Taurus and the sun is in Leo, and they're in a square to each other. And squares kind of ask for action, some kind of like movement, but it's the waning half moon, right? It's losing light, moving towards the new moon, which will come next week. Well, at the end of next week. So that is a time of starting a reflection, right? It's like the moon is losing light. We're moving towards the dark of the moon. So in the moon cycle, when we're setting our intentions and co-creating our lives, which is a very Leo thing, with the moon cycle, then we want this waning time is sort of where we're reflecting back on what we've done this past month that's in alignment with what we wanted to do. And then where do we want to make adjustments or changes? Were we successful with that? Are we not even interested in that intention anymore? What's the new intention? Where we want to start just kind of feeling into like, what do I want to be focusing on this next month when the new moon is coming again, right? So how can, with this Taurus energy of this half moon and the moon just moving into Taurus, it's like, how can you lean into your body? What feels good in your body? What supports your body? What brings pleasure to your body would be questions I would ask with this. Then on Sunday, the moon comes into the square with Venus. So a little bit more of that like Taurus, Leo kind of energy around our divine feminine. It's sort of the similar ideas, but how does leaning into our body help empower us as women, empower our divine feminine expressions, right? And in the world, right? We need to be more in our bodies to really help bring the divine feminine into a greater power, because we tend to be really focused in our heads. So not all of us, but a lot of us, and I count myself in that camp, and I'm always trying to like get more embodied, ground, connect. Okay, so then I'm just changing my pages to see where we're at. Okay, so then on Monday, the moon comes into a conjunction with Uranus, right? Uranus is at the very end of Taurus. The moon's going to cross across that, sort of highlighting those Uranus themes of like consciousness and awareness on that universal level. And then it moves into Gemini. So now the moon, that aspect of our divine feminine, is in Gemini, which is a really like genderless type of sign. It's much more about like breaking out of our boxes, like getting out of our comfort zone, challenging us in a playful, fun way to step out of the tight boxes, I keep using this word, that we like hold ourselves within, right? Our shadow side, that kind of coming back to that Chiron stuff, our shadow side keeps us in these boxes that we built to be safe, but Uranus wants to break us out of those, and so does Gemini, right? So the moon moving into Gemini, it's like, one, you could look at it as like, how do you allow like play and fun into your life? Are you comfortable with that? Are you uncomfortable with that? And then how can we playfully just open the box a crack, right? I think that's what this moon in Gemini offers us. And then on Tuesday, the moon will come into a conjunction with Mars and then Jupiter in Gemini in the early morning. So I'm going to show that in the astronomy software, and I will share my screen and we'll take a little look of what this looks like actually in the sky. Okay, so here we are on July 30th on Tuesday, at least for me here in Mountain Time in the United States. And here it is 2:15 in the morning. And look, the moon is aligned with Mars right here and Jupiter. And so if we progress through, if you're an early bird, this is a great time to get up. And as soon as you can see the sun is starting to rise here on that eastern horizon, as soon as the sun comes up, look, you see Mars and Jupiter disappear, and we'll still be able to see the moon because it's so bright. But once the sun comes up or gets pretty close to coming up, Mars and Jupiter will get lost in that bright light. So I just wanted to show that. And then the next day, I'm going to go back so we can see the moon and Mars and Jupiter here together. And then on the 31st, the moon goes past Jupiter. So those 2 mornings is a great time to get outside and just connect with the sky. If you get up early, I'm not trying to encourage you to not sleep or anything. I used to really get out there, not sleep. I still have a lot of issues with insomnia, but once I had appendicitis 2 years ago, I really prioritize sleep a lot more. So you would never hear me saying like, don't sleep. I think it's so essential to Taurus being in our bodies, being in the feminine, healing ourselves. But if you are up early or you're a really late night owl, you could look for this conjunction. So the moon is lighting up Mars and Jupiter. There's an expansive energy, an energy around the masculine that's Gemini, right? So taking action around opening our boxes up just that little crack, right? It's all about like taking baby steps. Nothing has to be this like radical, intense healing processes. It's just about like, can we take a little bit of step closer to our authentic selves? Can we take a little step to just kind of look at the wound that really needs the healing? Can we take a little step towards some habits or practices that better support us, or letting go of some that don't support us, that kind of energy. So also, we'll just zoom in here a little bit and move over and notice, right? These Mars, Jupiter, and the moon in Gemini is in the bull constellation, right here near Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, one of the ancient royal stars. And that's just a reminder, we talked about this before, that signs of Western tropical astrology are about the seasonal cycles, right? So when the sun moves into Aries, we have the spring equinox. The sun moved into Cancer recently, and we had the June solstice. It will move into Libra in September, and we'll have the September equinox. It's seasonally based. And then constellations are something different, right? So really, zero Gemini is here aligned with the Pleiades right there. I'm going to move this down a little bit, and we'll zoom in and leave in a little bit more and slide it over. And here are the Pleiades. So when any planet or the sun reaches an alignment with the Pleiades, that's when it moves into Gemini. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share. Just wanted to kind of show you those things today. Always like to look at stellarium.org, free software. Always pitching that because it's so important for us to remember astrology is really astronomy and about the sky. So Wednesday, we saw the moon came into that exact alignment with Jupiter. Well, I guess it's like late, that happens on Tuesday, but Wednesday morning, you could still see the moon pretty close to Jupiter. And then on Wednesday, the moon moves into Cancer. And so it also sextiles Venus. So again, there's a little bit more of like flow and energy between these divine feminine aspects. Moon's in Gemini, Venus is in Leo. So fire and air connect well together. They play nicely together. So there's that flow of energy of like getting out of the box helps us love ourselves more. Gemini, Leo, the moon sextile Venus. And then the moon will move into Cancer on Wednesday. And then we move into that energy of like, how do we nurture and take care of ourselves and lean into more unconditional love for ourselves, moving with the moon cycles. And then finally, I just am going to say, because I had some requests about the aromatherapy. So by all means, let me know if you like it, you don't like it. I'll end off with saying, let's talk about Lang Lang for all this Venus and Leo. So, oh my gosh, right? It's like, I always wish I could share the smell with you because this is like the most divine, like tropical, sort of like sticky, sweet, yummy, flowery smell. So powerful. And Lang Lang is one of the essences that I just love. Oh, it's definitely one of my faves. I mean, I love them all. But is really one that is known for helping us open our hearts, right? It's a huge heart healer. I sometimes will get pre-ventricular contractions with my heart. I haven't had one for a while, little knock on wood, but Lang Lang, if I catch it quick, can like help bring it back into the right rhythm, which is so nice. So Lang Lang is known to help heal our heart, physical heart, but also open our hearts energetically, our heart chakras, all of that energy. And Lang Lang really helps us to gently stay with the process of like healing our wounds and doing our shadow work. So I think Lang Lang is really a great essence to use this week because of that whole Chiron going retrograde with the Venus aspect connected to it. And then just the fact that Venus is in Leo and moving through Leo in this time. And we're starting this second half of the Leo Venus cycle, which reminds me to tell you, if you're interested in going on the ceremonial journey with Venus, with me and Kaylin K. Castell at Venus Alchemy, we're starting this week on the 30th is our first root chakra ceremonial class when Venus and the moon will come together on the they'll come together in August, but we're going to do some preparatory work and start moving towards that connection. So I'll put the link below, as well as if you want to understand and learn more about the Venus cycle, I'll put a link for that as well, a short little video that Kaylin and I did. But if you're feeling called to kind of lean into working with the Venus cycle more to empower your divine feminine expression and just the divine feminine in the world, which we need so much. If you feel that call and you feel that call towards working with Venus more deeply, then please take a look at our ceremonial journey that is starting. It's lovely to go through it with like the most amazing group, and we would love to have you. All right, that's it for me today. And thanks for being here. And I'll see you next week. Happy Venus Friday.